Showtime MP. True ballers only.
They think nothing of it. But if I know I was gonna have a lake on that boat, nigga, yes, I'm gonna go into a panic. Damn, man. This is like, I can't believe they got dirt, bro. I honestly can't believe it. Yeah, so this shit shot me so much. I had to post it on the, I couldn't even put a caption. I think you was like, God, this motherfucker fucking whack 100 and I'm fucking exposed to this motherfucker. Man, this some shit. Dirk was one of those ones that we were begging and hoping to say he made it out. He got. I ain't gonna lie. I thought he was gonna get caught up in the YSL shit. I ain't gonna lie. You thought he was gonna get caught up? By the way, he had a lyric that said some shit like that, didn't he? I thought he was, but he didn't. Nah, he had a lyric. Let me see. Yo, check. I remember the lyric he had. He had some lyric. He had some lyric about Young Thug telling him some shit. Oh, get it? Oh no, that was Future. Never mind. Oh, never mind. No, it's Dirk. Chat on verse 2 of Mad Max, Dirk and Future. Dirk says this.
Yeah, you go,
I got
Buster.
my stick out, keep a bitch house. Tells bro EPA to my slot. I could have been a part of that Rico. I called Thug, told him every nigga I shot. When I heard that, I said, this thing's got to be innocent. Ain't no way nobody be saying this shit. He said, I could have been a part of that Rico. I called Thug and told him everything got shot. When it's war, you never see main names. You gotta get everybody he got. Take off the ski mask, spray on the phone with the Iman just to get close to Allah. Oh, shit. So, that's not taking none of that shit serious that he's doing. Oh, my God. See what I'm saying? They ain't taking nothing serious that he's doing. Even though they breaking all that shit down. Honestly, yo, Wack, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think the days of rappers being somewhat about it or still being involved in the street is one thing if like you're really far removed. But this whole currently rapping about what you got going on and you gotta stay on a lower level, that's a drill level. You can't get to be an international star like you. Listen, bro. He was doing it in the ring. Black Montana. I got a whole album of country rap. I'm going the other way. I'm in Black Montana from Alabama. I got 12 songs done in country rap. I'm going the other way, bro. They got it. I ain't gonna lie. This one definitely hurt.
You're right. So when you got the call, or when your people pulled up the details,
I told you. Hold on. They sent it to me, and they said, "Hey, this is starting to pop up. There's a young shot." And I seen it, and I said, "I know PSO. PSO is Broward Sheriff's Office." I said, "Y'all can't fool me with Photoshop." So I went mute, and I said, let me. I have an app right here where I run everything you doing, and it's gonna tell me if somebody incarcerated. I ran it through it, and it pops up Broward Sheriff, Broward County jail, and it says that he's locked up for 35.
I told you it was going to pop up, right?
Yeah, I met Dirk. Man, I'll fuck with Dirk. Yeah, let me tell you this. Hey, you know, hold on. Whack. You know how cool. You know how cool and how close I am to 6ix9ine. I love 6ix9ine like a brother. But me and 6ix9ine got into arguments about because I really like Dirk. And I always thought that their issue was sometimes him doing a lot because he don't got beef with Chicago. And that was him like really egging at these niggas. Now I always understood him when he said, "Well, they call me a stench." I get that, but like me and him. We've gotten into arguments about it. Me and him have gotten into arguments about Dirk. We've gotten into arguments about Bond, and he knew was like, "Yo, bro, Dirk is somebody who I got a lot of love for, man." Supreme what? Oh, that's funny.
You know, last time you called me, you was talking crazy.
That's a weird ass name. Yeah, nigga, I don't know. Niggas be having crazy ass names.
That's like my last supervisor's first name was Jesus.
Two first names. That's like.
Remo, you my nephew. I gotta do it to you though, cause
That's funny as hell.
Hey, Wack, we'll give you this one. You know, for everybody who's ever doubted you and said you trolling or if you own God's sources, yo, for everybody in the world, I want to make it clear. Wack 100 told us this first. And I'm going to be honest with you, before I called you, 4 people texted me and they said, Wack is saying this. Even Adam. Yes, you got to confront him about this on the Adam and Wack show. Because I told him, I said, that's the only show really he could never cancel on No Jumper. But he texted me, he said, I heard this from Wack as well, but I haven't got an official source. You got to get at him because you were the official source. He ain't going to believe it. So he was giving me some doubt. Remo came and gave me some doubt. And I'm like, all right, maybe Wack hearing wrong.
bro, let me say this. Adam, my brother, I gotta say, Adam does shit on street shit. He's a white guy. His source ain't never gonna be more solid than mine when I'm in the streets. Sorry. Remo ain't a street motherfucker. He's a square. I got the call when I was on No Jumper. I had to step out.
God damn, man.
These square niggas think their official source is from a square nigga. The fuck?
You know what's crazy? People are saying that getting the key to the city is a sign of bad luck. Diddy gets the key to the city. What happens to him? He's locked up. Dirk just got.
Inside jokes.
Dirk gets 2 keys to the city. I'm like, what? 2? They gave him 2. And after he gets 2 keys, He gets locked up by the U.S. Marshals and related to a murder. This shit don't make no fucking sense. What do you do? Let me ask you this question. And I know, and I hate to even have to even think beyond this point because this shit's fucked us up. You got a lot of money, you're Lil Durk. You are the kingpin in this conspiracy. This ain't racketeering yet, even though they might supersede and make it racketeering if they got other shit. How do you go forward with this? Do you try to fight it and be like, well, I never told nobody to kill nobody? That's an angle. Hey, yeah,
The feds ain't willing to do it.
so you gotta fight it.
You gonna go through the procedure. You ain't fighting shit. By the time they come get you, that's it, bro. By the time they come get you, that's it, bro. This ain't no state case. Thug, you see what Thug gonna do? That's how he get you. Thug ain't got no choice because he's looking at life. You know what I'm saying?
Jesus, man. Murder for hire. Let me Google what that charge means federally.
Life. That's gonna say 460 months to life.
Man. A federal charge.
160 months to life.
All right. We got it here, Chad. Murder for hire. It says whoever who travels in or causes another, including the intended victim, to travel in interstate or foreign commerce, or uses or causes another, including the intended victim, to use the mail or any facility of. They basically just talking about federal shit. For the receipt of considered as a promise of an agreement to pay anything of pecuniary value, or who conspires to do so in relation to a murder.
I'm scared of these niggas' actions. Niggas ain't right. These niggas is Denzel gangsters. They playing gangsters.
Oh my God. Here it is. When using an informant in a murder for hire investigation, the government must not manufacture the interstate nexus required for jurisdiction. Such actions might be grounds for reversal. Blah, blah. Such cases are, all right, anyway, let's get, according to legislative history, this statute covers both the hitman and the contractor under that theory that the contractor causes the hitman to travel or uses facilities in interstate commerce. The maximum penalty for violating this, with the severity of the conduct, is going to be a fine and 10 years for any violation, a fine and 20 years for personal injury, and a fine of not more than $250,000, and death or life imprisonment if death results. Oh my God.
What I tell you?
So Chad, you're saying that $250,000 in fine.
The number two nigga told nigga, the gunman, he cut his deal to get off that light. Number two nigga in there, cut the deal to get off the light, bro.
Co-conspirator too. You think he cut the deal? Hold on, let me ask you a question.
You're right,
These are real niggas. Like, we all know how Chicago give it
ain't
up.
no real nigga. What's
No.
I keep telling you I represent the bitch ass niggas. Ain't no more
No,
real
but
niggas.
listen, Wack. So you telling me if the government, you think these guys would take, like, I mean, all right, they don't get life, but they get 15 or 20, or they get 20. Because he pulled the trigger. You get 20. You get
You might
20.
get a nigga 30 bitches.
So you think you would take the 30 sounds better than life? 30 sounds like life.
Hell yeah, 30. You nigga be out 25. Me 60 and 19. Hell yeah, that's what they gonna do.
Wait, how much did Meese get? How much did Meese get?
He's 30.
Oh, so you could be possibly out in 20?
He's got 30 and was supposed to be in 24. But he got out in 19, because they dropped his little level and shit he got like 4 or 5 years back. So, yeah, he's got 25, nigga.
Chat. They said basically, so for murder for hire, if no one got killed,
Life.
no. So if no one got killed, they say
That's conspiracy to commit murder.
yes,
For hire.
yes. So they said you could get 10 years if that's it. They said if someone gets hurt but not killed, you get 20. If someone get killed, it's either life imprisonment or death.
Cigarette or nah? Let me check. Hold on.
And I guess, so. Chat, to think about the different levels. Chat, to think about the different levels. There's a level where they're saying, sometimes like you'll plot the murder for hire, but it's actually an informant that's like an undercover agent. Nobody got hurt.
That's conspiracy. That's conspiracy to commit murder for hire. I'm gonna give you like 10, 15 if you ain't never had no criminal history. If you can't murder, I'm gonna try to join the nigga don't die, they gonna start you with a dub. You know what I'm saying?
Flacco said that he people were calling him a liar. Did you give him the source? Because he reported it right too.
Yeah, Flacco said they hit him up. They said he got called Dirk was in handcuffs. Listen, Flacco got told by Remo. I told Remo, I said, Adam, let Remo know. I called the streets. I notified my industry people. Don't accept no phone calls if you get this call from nobody. They didn't question it. No problem, right? And you know who my brother is. I called Adam. Let Remo know. Tell him to go up with the story real vague. Remo told Flacco. Flacco went with it. I called you, woke your people up. Because I knew Remo was playing. So I said, fuck it, I'm going to give it to Agnes. There it is.
Man, I'm watching everybody in my comments saying, yo, you threw away your life for this. And essentially, what it is the same people who were saying, fuck all that, when is he going to slide? They were all saying that. I remember them in my comment section. They said, but when is he going to slide, though? And now they're clowning him.
Shot a gun in their life. I wish I would perform for a motherfucker I've never seen. I don't know these niggas. Fuck you, nigga. I'm gonna do what I want to do. I might not do that. How about that?
Wack, you were right, man. You got it, man. You got it, man. You got it, man. This one for sure hurts. This one for sure hurts, man.
This
Hey,
nigga.
Matt, you think they're gonna get Brick Baby caught up in this?
I mean, I never knew this guy.
Hey, yo,
Yeah.
slow down and listen. Slow down and think about what you just said. Who you just said? About the hotel and the local. Slow down, man.
No, there's a local. I don't know who that
Way to
local
bring
could
that
be.
up.
Slow down, man. Think about it. Hey, you got remember.
It's game time,
Rolling
people.
60
Let's
crib.
put that work in.
Father Ronald threw his flag down after that happened. Why? Because Rick is a rolling 60 crib.
That makes sense, Wack? This guy's telling me. That's why they entered. He said, we got to think about it. Quando stopped
You're
claiming
about to go off.
crib after that. And maybe the thought was maybe it was a crib who set him up in LA. I can't. That don't make sense.
It does make sense.
A crib would set up a crib, right?
Listen to me, right?
Huh?
That's a fact. Listen to me. Brick Baby went on that motherfucking show. We all thought it was a bad deal. And somebody beat up Rondo Rondo. Y'all can't say OTF this. Okay, fine. They said, what you mean? It's what you mean what I mean. The nigga name. Everybody, the whole world thought it was a bad deal. This nigga Brick went on that damn show and said, y'all can't say OTF didn't fly. Yo, what the? Pull it up. You didn't hear the shit? Pull it up, bro. Yeah. Pull it up, man. This nigga said, when the world thought it was a bad weed deal, he went on that show and said, y'all can't say OTF didn't fly. Chat, what niggas is like, what is you talking about, bro?
I thought. So he the first one who said it?
First nigga that said it. The whole world thought it was a bad weed deal. Pull it up.
Maybe he got his ear to say streets.
Bro, even if you do got your ears to the streets, you hang out with them niggas, you take pictures with them niggas, or boy in that other car from 6-0. What the fuck are you doing? Tell it. The whole world think it's the motherfucking niggas that ain't black over a weed deal. Why are you going on a date talking about y'all can't say OTF didn't fly? And then say the nigga name that got killed. That might have been the player's first lead. To get to the niggas that they eventually made hell.
Man, Dirk was supposed to go through his prime right now, man. Jesus Christ. And this is one of them charges I don't think you could beat. There's too many snitches. Everybody telling. Too much technology. They're quoting people's text messages, which means somebody gave up their phone or they took it already. They said that they got pictures. They got pictures of everybody sending in their name, their passport picture, their picture, their license. Hey, book me this flight. It's not like they're guessing no more. They know. This don't seem beatable, man.
I think Brett may be going to snitch, and that's what he good at.
You think? I don't think the feds hit up Brick Baby. Like, why? Why the hell would Brick Baby? Like, Brick Baby's not.
Granted, I got beef with Brick Baby. Granted, he had some. Hey, where? He had some LA Crips running down on me in Charlotte. Them niggas trying to jump me. So I'm hoping Brick Baby go down.
Listen to me. Go pull it up. Brick Baby exposes murder. Pull it up, bro. You pull it up and listen to what he says. And look at the name.
You know, sometimes they can be on podcasts, they'll be saying shit to say. You know what I mean?
Academics. The world thought it was a bad weed deal. The world thought it was a bad weed deal.
Wait, is it this right here? Hold
What?
on. Let me see. I'm gonna give me 1 second.
Good.
Oh yeah,
Sloth of
ain't
honor.
nobody.
Good. They say you can't say that no more. Why? Oh yeah, cause of no. Like who died?
You can't say that no more.
Oh, cause of FBG Cash? Oh who?
Nah, cause Lil Bob.
Oh.
Right there. What you mean? What you mean? Hello?
I mean, Whack, what you trying to say, man? I'm like,
No, fuck what I'm trying to say. You need to say it over again? You need some Q-tips for your ears?
Brick Baby is a gay crip, and he a rat.
no. Brick Baby not right. Like he wouldn't.
He a gay crip that's a rat.
They wouldn't have him in the rolling 60s if he.
Academics, listen to me. You find somebody else prior to that date that tied OTS to that murder. The world thought it was a bad weed deal and somebody reached over Quando and killed dude directly. That's what the world thought. Nobody had any fucking thinking that shit in Beverly Hills has something to do with OTS, bro. I was the first leader. Let me ask you something. What day did he make that statement right there?
All right, now I gotta go look that up.
What day did this murder happen?
Let me see.
What year and date? What year and date, bro?
Now it looked like he said that in February 2023, and looked like Lil Pop. Let me see. Lil Pop died. Let me see. Lil Pop supposedly died in hold on. I think when did Lil Pop? Oh, Lil Pop died in August 21, 2022. So like 4 months before. So he died 4 months.
And he said this February, right? 2023, right?
Yeah. Maybe he was just listening to the streets. Like everybody say he's the most tapped in with the
The
streets.
streets did not know that, bro. The streets did not know that. That's some niggas, the close knew that. The streets were saying it was a bad weed deal with some Armenians or Persians. That's what the streets were saying. Now watch this. You ready for this? You know what happened in June 2023?
Nah, what was in June 2023?
Brick Baby got picked up by the feds for an AK-47. He still ain't had a court date in the last 15 months.
What? Stop. You get out of the break.
You want to bet another 10,000?
Nah, you lied.
Let's bet another 10,000.
Nah, wait. Yeah.
Let's bet another 10,000.
Wait, hold on. Let me see.
You want to bet?
Brick Baby out on oh, he made bail. Or something like that. He made bail.
Where is Big right now? Where's Big? You gotta remember, you want to bet?
Hey, Brick Baby is good in his own hood. You gotta remember that. Brick Baby is good in his own hood.
Look, you say this in February.
I'm off, so I'm ready.
Feds come put the heat on this nigga in June. He even had a court date fixed.
I mean, this year.
Yeah, in June they said he was.
June 2023, like June 23rd.
Oh, media tape got reported. I don't know if I believe everything they say, but they.
Nigga, I got the printout, nigga. Fuck out of here.
You got to print out that Brick Baby.
Hey, bro, I've been saying this when you go on court, nigga. I've been screaming this shit for a year or something.
You sure he didn't fake an arrest? You know this. He got.
No, nigga, because
That's what I'm saying. I didn't
his
know.
bro was calling around trying to get bail money. They called the wrong person. That's how I knew. Put this shit in the clubhouse.
No way. Popular Los Angeles rapper Brick Baby was apparently reportedly arrested last week and is now believed to be facing federal criminal charges.
What the fuck?
Takeout.
Bro, let me see if I can find a mugshot. He ain't been to court yet.
now that's
So wait, what?
Because he a gay, he a
Wait,
gay,
wait,
rat.
Wait. What? Are you trying to say that you think Brick Baby cooperated?
Do you want to play that clip you just played from February 2023?
Hey,
That
what? The only thing I'm not going to convict him on that because I think the streets do. Like, he a street dude. So, like, he be outside.
But you see?
Hi. Hey, I do Fortress in Portland.
If
that's
listen to, like, a lot
the
the killers and stuff, like, maybe the killers.
See the fuck, you don't get the fuck out of here.
And you should have
I don't think going out with him. He like protection.
That nigga name ain't Loose Cattle. Fuck out of here, bro. Hey, Brick Baby was scared to catch the bait with me. He ain't no street dude.
I thought he was like the top guy in the room 60.
No, he was scared to catch a fade. Bro, I asked Raymond Blanco and 80 instead of the fade.
I think she did.
Whack, am I
Because I think
tripping?
she was trying to tell me something, but I wasn't trying to hear it. And I was trying to
Shit like that.
I thought he was like the main soldier for like Big U.
No.
Yeah, I was annoyed. I was like, nah, I ain't
I ain't never seen that nigga with Big U. The 17 years in Big U range. That nigga was in Atlanta. He got shot and ran to Atlanta. That's that. He got ran out by Atlanta. Them niggas ran him out of Atlanta too. He got shot and ran to Atlanta. Now, you got what he said in February. What's weird about you act is you act like what you just heard ain't a violation. You can't find nobody from the time dude got killed in February 2023 who ever mentioned OTF having any dealings with that murder. Right?
God really don't like puppies.
Nah, you might be right on that. I ain't go child
That's
down.
what I'm saying. God don't like fucking puppies.
Really?
What you do comes back, and it doesn't come to you, but it'll come back to your others.
4 months later, the feds come grab him.
Oh.
For 8 days. He ain't had no court date yet.
Hey, I had Remo try to reach out to him today. He said Remo said he'd been calling his phone ever since 3 o'clock y'all time, and he said he hasn't been answering.
Oh, yeah, that was Jelly, not to say but friend, that was the only one Jelly really played with whenever she was over there.
I don't know.
That's crazy.
I don't think he could. Like, if Brick Baby cooperate, the streets is done. I be believing Brick Baby. I ain't gonna lie.
Yo.
Hey, how you gonna believe Brick Baby? Please give me a good explanation why you believe him.
Oh my God. My thing is, you know your child has asthma, and y'all don't have a machine in the house. You didn't have a car to take her fast enough. Like, oh. Mhm. Mhm.
You know what happened to the Vatos gang from the first season of The Walking Dead? That mysterious group there, which we discovered later, that took care of the elderly, which was a good group who lived there in downtown Atlanta. There's an answer to their fate and what caused their fate, based on a deleted scene from second season and other clues and information we have about the actors. And in this video, I will explain everything about it, a very important explanation about the show, and if you want to know, stay here and let's go. Hello everyone watching this beautiful channel. My name is João Victor and I'm back to talk
Yeah,
about
but
the Walking Dead
you see
universe
what
again.
happened?
Yeah, I'd like to thank you for the feedback in all my videos explaining much more
But you see
things
what
about this
happened?
universe, and now I'm
You
back to
see?
the
And then
season 1
became
of the
for
Walking
good the
Dead,
last
explaining
couple of
another
months the
very
way he
important
did.
fact
Now
that
that
was
we
left
give
open
up,
in the
you
story,
have to
but
say it
there's an
that way.
answer.
But
But I have to say
damn, bro,
first, don't forget to
no
check the like
trousers
this
to do
video.
that.
It helps me a lot with the promotion.
Yeah,
And also,
this
if
is
you
what
like
you
more
get,
contents
bro.
about the Walking
Yeah,
Dead,
this is
don't
what
forget
you
to
get.
subscribe in this channel. I'll keep doing a lot. Thank you for your patience with my English. Let's go. Yeah,
And
here's
that
the
just
thing.
freaking
Let's talk
dust
about
on
the
your ass
first
just to
season of
make
The
you
Walking
learn
Dead.
now.
This
Like,
video is a
bro.
nostalgic one because
No,
that's
that's
where we will have to
like,
explain all this. That's where the story is shown. Yeah, at this time, Rick finds his family. He arrives in Atlanta, and we have this camp group. But during this first episodes, during the first season, they were involved in a mission. We had Merle disappearing there, Daryl's brother. So four of them were in a mission in the city in downtown Atlanta, also to recover the bag of weapons. Rick's bag of weapons that he had been left in the beginning of the story in episode 1. It's extremely important. That's when the story happens. Yeah, in episode 4, which even takes the name of this group, the Vatos, we have then the Rick's group in the city surrounded by zombies in Atlanta, when suddenly they have this problem. Glenn comes across the crowd, the members of this group, these Mexicans there, and that's when everything starts. Daryl and Glenn fight them, there's a battle, there's a really madness, and in the end, a car shows up to help the guys, and they take Glenn along with them. And Daryl and the group there stay with another member of this group of Vatos. That's when their journey after Glenn begins. From this guy, who is a member of the group, they go to the base, the Vatos gang base, fully armed there. They go there to intimidate, but mainly to make a quiet exchange, to return this kid in exchange to have Glenn back. That's where we start this happy environment of understanding what this group is. We get to meet Guillermo. I think it's the name that is their leader, the man with an angry face. And during the conversations, he says he does not accept a normal exchange, that he wants his weapons, which in the case, it's the weapons.
You gonna go up to his teachers.
Rick's
You gonna go up
weapons.
to his
That's
teachers,
when the
get
thing
the
gets
money.
more sinister. We see that it's a tough group in itself when they show Glenn up there hanging and everything, saying that they are going to screw him and more stuff. Like they gave two options to Rick and his groups. The first one is to go back there with the guns and make the exchange, and the second option is to Rick's group go back there armed so they have a shootout and see who survives. By the way, pay close attention to this scene I just showed of Glenn up there. I will come back to it in this video to explain better. But there we go. Then Rick decides that he, Taro, and T-Dog will be extremely armed there, prepared for the worst, but they won't hand over all the weapons. He offers the boy and speaks. He implies that he chose the option of give the boy and the guns to avoid the chaos of a shootout, but that's where there's the plot twist of this group's issue, which is the revelation that this group is much cuter than the sinister part of them. They are a good person. The lady, shows up, who's the leader's grandmother, to be able to ask for help, saying that there's another gentleman there who needs to breathe an asthma pump and everything else. And that's when we are introduced to what this group really is, which is a group that takes care of the elderly. Yeah, they are there to help them, to protect. We see several there, in a room. There's even a piano and stuff. After all, everything works out. They prove to be a group of friends. And we end up with Rick, Daryl, T-Dog, and Glenn quietly leaving the group there. And from that, the question that remained is, what happened to this group that we never see again? Did they stay there in Atlanta? Are they still alive? Can they appear at some point in the story of the Walking Dead universe? Well, there's many people who know, but there's also many people who don't know. If you don't know, there's a sequence of a very long deleted scenes from the first episode of the second season of The Walking Dead. Yes, scenes of about 13 minutes at the beginning of the second season of the show, and they just cut. And these scenes explain and show what happened to the Vato. I have to say there will be another explanation besides that I will bring. But okay, the scene starts there with Dan. After coming from the CDC, after the explosion, they arrive there in that place to be able to explore, and there's an abandoned place. They come across and see something crazy. They begin to see that there's not much movement. There are no guards until they find the first zombies, some zombified group members there. Several other bodies, of old men and other members of the group as well, all chipped, stuck there on the ground as if a catastrophe had happened. Someone ended the group. And there's more, by the way. They go on advancing, in the parts of group which we had seen previously, where they lived and such, and until they got into the medical part there, which is where the elderly people they cared for were. And there the scene is not different. Everything destroyed, all those old men and old women died, which is a scene that like they are very scared. Yeah, the first answer from this video is that all the members of the Vatos were killed. They were destroyed. But the next question is, by whom? Who killed them? Was it by the zombies? Was it by a group of survivors? Well, by these deleted scenes, we can go by elimination, which has some things that can be discarded. Here we have Andrea there, they all thinking, trying to realize what happened there, and they think that it was zombies. But Daryl is very angry in that scene, and he's saying, no, that they are not zombies. He even shows the scene, one of the old men with the shot in the head, to prove that it wasn't a zombie that killed him. It is highlighted well, even by Daryl, that it was an execution. It was some survivors who got there and executed people totally, probably to get supplies, weapons as well. But then we got to the Drax, and then we come back to the episode 4 of The Walking Dead. There, after they leave, and that's the
MP, you are the straw that stirs the drink.
But they couldn't find the base where they had left, and the truck was stolen. At that time, they comment, that Merle may have COVID, that he's going to the camp to seek revenge. I think it's Daryl that Merle, Daryl's brother, is angry now because Rick had been handcuffed there, but there is, so he had to cut his hand off, and we found it later. And yeah, what room was this character? The show. When Merle come back with the report, season later, well, he showed up with the governor. Even there in the dirty part, we believe that after the draft there, Rick left them there, there is countless people and ended up we know that at least close of this group of bodies. When we got there, he did things there in the first season without showing them. And yeah, she was speaking of food, so it was the group. It's early information there that destroys the place. The students' supplies, probably to take to the armies and things like that. There's no proof, like 100% proof that governor himself really was there.
MP, you're my favorite player, man. Oh.
Anna and Merle joined them. Yeah, the governor was already there. Have more possibility with this. Also, things I say here are talked about and comment a lot, but this point here is least talked about. I want to know who remembers this governor soldier. His name is Schumbert. Yeah,
No.
he appeared a lot of times. He's a strong guy who, when we met Governor's group of The Walking Dead in season 3 for the first time, he was already part of it.
No, that's what she wants. Oh, look at her. She's such a good girl. Yeah, she was actually pretty good when I was there. But, clearly. Right. And then you'd be wondering why the man hype. She's like, bitch. All right. Damn. All those breaths be smelling like, what the fuck? Ew. Nova. Nova, that's too much, girl. It's too much. I like yours, baby girl. I like yours. I know. It's okay though. You said yes, but oh my god. She said that's the best part because you're right here. That's what I be feeling like. That's why I'm not eating fucking caffeine. But then I'm like, I don't want to drink no caffeine because I still work tonight. So it's like, I'm going to end up crashing out. What the hell are you watching? What are you watching? From the hurt today, I was like, oh, just watch a second. Yeah, I completely forgot your sister had asked us. Facts. That's why I be like, why is Jody playing this when she can't even? I'm grateful she doesn't know how to really read yet because she doesn't know what it's saying. But then when she really does know how to read it, come on. I'm telling Jackie, like, don't be letting her play that shit. Even when she's on regular YouTube, I don't like that shit. You watching mad crazy shit. I mean, what are you watching? And she was sitting there laughing. My fucking toenail chipped. Look. I'm so mad, Samantha. I'm only going out tomorrow. Yeah, mine was like that too one summer. I was dumb tight. But this song is tight. I just got them done. And I was like, yo, what the fuck? And like the next day, I seen the crack. I was like, and then the nails were so thin, I had to take them off. I took them off like yesterday, the day before yesterday, because it was like they were pissing me off. Every time I kept slamming them, they felt like my real nail was gonna break, and I was like, nope. And as soon as I took one off and it came off with no problem, I was like, oh yeah. Yeah, I wanted to do mine's over, but I was like, nah, it's not. I'll be okay. I wanted to do them for Halloween, but I was like, nah, I'm gonna just, yeah. I was like, fuck it. If anything, I'll see if I do like November, a Thanksgiving theme. Put a fucking turkey on my fucking finger. And I think I gotta get like a different lip balm other than Blistex because I feel like Blistex makes me want to peel my lips more. I think I need something other than Blistex on my lips because it makes me want to peel them more. Like when the Blistex dries, it makes me want to peel the shits more. That's probably why, because the Blistex is probably not good for his lips. He probably needs something else. I feel like the lipstick, what fuck? Yeah, because I'm feeling like this thing's really not, it's not working. It's not working. And even like Vaseline, cocoa butter, all that other shit, like that shit don't be working that much. It's kind of just down to like 35. Oh my god. Hold on. What is your stuff? Oh, I gotta cover the office too.
Well, what if I tell you that this guy was part of the Vatos group before going to murders? And you can say, oh, is this a theory? I don't even want to know. I went through. Well, I have evidence to bring you some points like this that you get to. But remember I said at the beginning of the video that we are going to come back to the scene. Well, this scene here from the moment when Glenn was with the Vatos and Rick was negotiating. Yeah, this guy here is the same actor who played Shumpert in season 3. His name is
I don't even know where to get that kid. I was gonna, bro, you have me fathom. I don't even know
had a slightly different look, but it's confirmed and official, including by the actor himself.
She is, but she isn't.
And some conference
That girl
participated
is
in
complicated.
real life. He has confirmed several times that he is in the first season.
And it's like, I don't want to, it's like, I want to get her toys and shit, but I feel like, no, I feel like I need something like educational.
And then
She
if
needs
you
something
connect
to
the
like,
story, all the information I gave you in this video, you will understand even more easily. We're attacking this group of battles
well,
along
that's
with other people there from the governor's
cell
group,
phone
and got
shit.
Shumpert, who was one of the guys who was member of this group, to be able to work with them, or he took him hostage or something like that, or Shumpert was there infiltrated, like in the end he betrayed everyone and helped to kill everyone there to be able to go to these people
Chill, bro.
something
Whole
like
brand
that.
new school and still you fucking up. How?
Later. That's the best explanation.
Now, and nobody can say it's the school. It's you. You've literally been the problem everywhere you go.
This actor only did an extra in the first season.
Oh, I don't get along with this kid. I don't get along. Well, whose problem is that? Because they get along with everybody else. Just perfect spawn.
But I have to say, it is so strange for the production to put the same actor in two places and say that they are different characters with the same face. In addition to it, it would also be strange since we already have the clue of her. The main point here is that we have a lot of evidence that leads us to believe that it was these people from the governor's group who did something there with the people from the battle. So yeah, the answer for this video is, it is confirmed they were all killed. There is a very high possibility that the governor's group and all this is the answer. It is the closest we have to the explanation of everything that happened to this group. But of course, write in the comments your opinion about it. If you want more videos explaining some points that were left open. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I'll keep doing more and more videos about this universe. Also, don't forget to check the like if you liked this video. Thank you for watching. All the best and goodbye.
And I'm still on TV, we're gonna be like dominant. I thought I had a little bit more time.
Welcome back to Walking Dead Season 1, a season which now premiered over a decade ago. It's filled with a wave of nostalgia. Not only is it cool to see the beginning of a series that would go on for many years, spawn many different TV shows, and still have at least a little bit of success to this very day, but it's also strange to see just how different the show was back in 2010. The zombie genre in 2010 was just beginning to see the height of its popularity. There were popular video games like Left 4 Dead, Black Ops Zombies, the first Black Ops that is, Dead Rising 2, among many others, but there were also a few movies in the early 2000s that found success, like 28 Days Later, Dawn of the Dead, the first few Resident Evil movies, but when the first episode of The Walking Dead hit our screens on Halloween night of 2010, the zombie genre, for better or worse, changed forever. Now, the show isn't solely responsible for the rise rise of the zombie genre that would follow in the years to come, but it's certainly a big springboard for why it got so popular, and also why it got so oversaturated. But in this video, I'm going to be looking back at the first season, how it holds up, the impact that it made on the genre, and how different the show was back then compared to how it is now. And with there being 11 seasons of the show, I'm going to be doing a video like this for each and every season for each of the 11 months of the year.
Remember she asked us to go hiking? How she gonna ask me if I could pick
Well,
something?
there's going to be a new video for
She
each
didn't
month
invite me to go
discussing
hiking
and
with you.
dissecting a new season. So if you like what you see in this video, go ahead and
Are you
subscribe
invite-
and watch the other videos, and who knows, maybe some of my other videos as well. So let's journey back to a time when The Walking Dead wasn't a household name, didn't have 6 different spin-off shows, and it was about a group of people fighting to survive in the zombie apocalypse. Walking Dead Season 1.
Yeah, I know. That morning, I told her, I was like, I don't think we should go. I didn't get her up. You didn't get her up, and I'm pretty sure she's sleeping.
Given as how there's only 6 episodes in this season, I'm going to go over each of them one by one. I won't be doing this in the later seasons, just highlighting
Right.
certain
You're saying,
episodes and
you never
events that
check in.
happened. But since this is only 6 episodes, and this is the one that
Right.
started it all, I'll go by
You want
episode by
those thoughts?
episode, and that starts us with Season 1, Episode 1, Days Gone By. Now, there's not much I can say about Days Gone By that hasn't been said already by a lot of people. This episode is up there with, I'd say, like, Lost as having the best pilot episode of all time, and everything else can maybe come close, but it's not as good. By itself, this episode works almost like it's the first movie of the series, and everything that we see is so carefully crafted and written to complete perfection. We get to see everything unfold in front of us, and we are told very little, which is one of the #1 rules about screenwriting: show, don't tell. We see how good of friends Rick and Shane are. We see just how insane the world has become. We see that Shane and this woman are together, and then we see, oh, that's Rick's wife. There's so little exposition and explanation in this episode. Really, the only bits of this is when Rick and Morgan are talking over dinner, and them talking about the world, what's happened, and all of that is necessary to the plot. There can be good exposition and bad exposition. And this moment right here is an example of good exposition. Rick has no idea what the hell is going on. There's this excellent moment when he gets back to his house and he's literally talking to himself saying, is this even real? Am I here right now? And I think that's such a great scene, and it's a quick scene, because if anybody else was in Rick's situation right here, you'd probably be thinking the exact same thing. So when Morgan is explaining what's happened to Rick, he calls the dead walkers. This is the audience learning things for the first time along with our protagonist, and that is usually a good sign of exposition. Bad exposition is when characters are explaining a situation or something that the audience should already know about, but the dialogue is reminding you of what they're talking about. I mean, you might as well just look at the camera and speak directly to the audience about it. I think one of the reasons why this episode stands out in particular is the character of Morgan. Thinking about Morgan's role in the greater Walking Dead universe now, it's crazy to see that the popularity of this character stemmed from this episode. Morgan wouldn't become a season regular until years later in the show, making an appearance in only one other episode if you don't count the post-credit scenes or the season 5 finale, yet people became so attached to the character of Morgan and they wanted it back. That's because Morgan had his own character arc in this single episode, and he was written to be such a likable dude. There's plenty of examples of great characters that only appear in a single episode in The Walking Dead, and while Morgan doesn't belong in that category anymore, there was a time that he did, and he was far and away the best character during that time that he was in the category. This episode does what all pilots should do, and that's set up. This episode sets up the characters, their relation to each other, their different motivations, and leaves us on the scene that we want to see the resolution of. This is a perfect episode of not only The Walking Dead, but television in general, and it's easy to see why The Walking Dead became such a hit after this episode premiered. So episode 2, titled
Yeah, I was
Gods,
thinking about the
introduces
phone.
us to a whole new cast of characters
I
who
know.
would go on to become the beginning of our group of survivors. Glenn is immediately
Well, I
the
mean,
favorite
that's even
of
a
these
better reason. You're
characters.
not working to know
He's
what
the
else
one
you
who
have to do to
saves
fucking
Rick,
time.
and he's
Watch
incredibly
it.
likable and is somebody who the audience can see themselves as. The everyday pizza delivery boy, kind of nerdy, and still sees the bright side of life despite the situation they're in. There's also characters like Andrea, T-Dog, and Merle that would go on to have a varying amount of screen time and importance. But I think what this episode does so well is highlight the survival aspect of the show. They're in a sticky situation with the walkers surrounding them, and you can really feel that tension and that struggle. You feel so captivated in their survival, and even after watching the show many, many times over and
Well, if you
knowing
need me
that
on
they're
a
going to
Wednesday
get
or
out, it
Thursday
doesn't
night,
make
I
this
got you.
episode
Because I'm
feel
hectic.
any less tense. It's also funny because our characters
And I
get
know
in situations like this
Wednesdays and
countless
Thursdays. I have
times
the
over
same
the seasons,
check.
but usually they can just run away or find an alternate method of escape. Rarely is there a scene that has as great of tension and build-up as this one does. Now, there's a number of reasons for that. The show couldn't sustain the amount of tension for every single Walker Horde encounter, so they differentiated them from here on out, but it doesn't take anything away from this episode and this escape. In episode 3, Challenge of the Frogs, we shift away from the survival horror of the show into more of the character drama portion that the show would later go on to fully emphasize. But it's also not like this came out of nowhere. The first 2 episodes built up this reunion between Rick and his family, and also the drama that is sure to come of it. We get several reunions early on in the episode. This group that we see Shane and Rick's family have also been a part of is the same group that the characters from episode 2 are a part of. So Andrea sees her sister, Morales sees his family, and of course, the reunion of Rick and his family. This is such an excellent scene and a great payoff in just 3 episodes, which goes to show how great these characters are written because we truly care about things going on in their lives outside of just killing zombies. But now that we're in this camp, we get to see more of the dynamics and the characters that we've briefly seen already. Shane is the one who's more or less in charge of everything. Dale is the old wise mentor. Carol is the helpless and abused housewife. We also meet this new guy, Daryl Dixon. And this guy seems like he's going to be a problem. I hope he's not around for too long. Daryl's introductory scene is actually really great. He wonders where Merle is. Shane steps in to tell Daryl that he's not around. But then Rick steps up because he thinks that it's his responsibility to tell him. This is already changing the dynamic of the group because while Shane steps in because he thinks he has to, Rick steps up because it's the right thing to do. So with Rick entering this group, the whole dynamic shifts. He brings an old world mindset into the new world, and this gives a lot of people in the group some newfound hope. And very quickly, this group starts to view Rick as the potential new leader. Leaving Merle behind takes a toll on his conscience, and even though he's just got back to his wife and kids, he takes on the responsibility of somebody else's life, even if it means risking his own life. The others, while they may not even realize it at the time, eventually come to learn that this is somebody that they want looking out for them. This whole exchange of power works out great for some people, but not as well for one person in particular, and that's Shane. The dynamic between Rick and Shane is really at the forefront of the story for the remainder of the season and the entire next season, and there's definitely a reason for that. Andrew Lincoln and John Bernthal play on each other so well and bring so many different levels to each and every scene that they're in. This was also the start of an aspect that I feel is super underrated in the show, and that's the different opinions of audience members. As the series goes on, this becomes way more relevant, but especially during this episode and maybe the following one, you feel a little bad for Shane. On one hand, you have some people who think that Shane is a rat bastard, and he beats Red's wife while he was still alive. And on the other hand, you saw Shane as a man who was doing everything he could for his best friend's family, and having to fall in love with Lori, but he had every indication that Rick was dead, and he was even being a good, surrogate father for Carl. These different opinions between the audience was my absolute favorite part of watching the show as it went on, particularly in the seasons 5 to 6 era. Almost every episode gave the audience something to debate, and I remember being part of those conversations online, even having them with my friends and family, what was right, what wasn't, and that all really stems from the character drama that was presented in this episode. I also have to highlight the writing, not only of this episode, but of the season in general, whether it be quick and witty remarks, talks of survival between the characters, or even some of the deep and impactful conversations. Each and every scene leaves you on the edge of your seat. To hear what happens next, laugh at a funny remark, or lead you to care more about the character speaking. This is certainly something that the show loses as the seasons go on, and more introduced, they just either weren't as impactful as the characters that were introduced here, or the writing for them wasn't as captivating. And of course, it's always great to see Shane beat the ever-living crap out of Ed. Regardless of everybody's opinions on Shane, we can all root for him here in this moment. In episode 4, Montos, we pick up right where we left off in the last episode, showing the effects of the apocalypse and how it impacts different people back in the camp and the group in Atlanta trying to find Merle and get the guns back when they run into trouble with another group of survivors. Given what the show becomes, the storylines in this episode feel very restricted and almost a little bland. But once again, when you combine the tension of the mission and the excellent dialogue between the characters, this apparently bland synopsis is elevated to one of the best episodes of the season. We also get to see the first group outside of the one that we've seen and just how far society has dissolved. This episode is, of course, a glimpse into the future of the show, where people would become the main threat and zombies would be secondary. The dilemma presented in this episode is a good one. The Montos want the guns to protect their own, but so does Rick. And it seems that these people aren't the greatest at first glance, threatening to kill Glenn, but then we find out it's the exact opposite. These people are actually just keeping a retirement home up and running, so they eventually see eye to eye. On one hand, this misdirection is really great and makes sense that there would still be some good people left in the world to care for others, but on the other hand, I feel like this card was played too early. Getting to see a nastier side of the world when it comes to humans would be a great introduction to what the world is like now. We're told that there's been some plunderers that the Montos have run into, but so far, every single human that we've seen is basically nothing but a good person, maybe outside of Merle. I almost wish that this misdirection of an enemy group of people was saved for later, but as it stands, this is still a great episode. Back at the camp, we also see that being in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by woods, is actually not a great place to hold out, and the group now has to find a new home after an attack that leads to the end of a lot of people's lives. This is also the first time that we see the group full-on fight off walkers, and they really run away from them before this, and this is also, of course, a trend that will continue in the years to come. In episode 5, Wildfire, it shows us the aftermath of what the attack does to our group mentally, the full change in the dynamics between Rick and Shane, and the conversations regarding where they should go next. This is another episode that highly focuses on the dynamic and the different personalities clashing in the zombie apocalypse. Things like Rick suggesting that they go to the CDC to get the cure, Glenn yelling that they bury their dead, they don't burn them, and Jim trying to hide his bite from everybody, hoping that it'll just get better. These different conversations and even storylines in the show are clear signs that this is the first season of the show. Fights don't just get better, not everybody is able to be buried, and there is no cure. This episode is really focused on furthering the development of our characters. See how this first too deeply affected. This is also the first ever scene between Daryl and Carol, which turns out to be a very important friendship that's continued on into present day. In this episode, the group fully embraces Rick's ideology, and the torch is unwillingly passed from Shane to Rick. Shane wanted to go to the military base in Fort Benning, away from the city, in hopes that the military base would still have all the supplies that they need, whereas Rick wants to go to the CDC in hopes that it's still up and running and they can get a cure for Jim. I think these two choices perfectly reflect the characters of Rick and Shane at this time of the show. Shane is a realist. He wants to do what's best for them right now, in that moment, the people who are still alive and go to a place that's proven to have more weapons and fortification. Rick is an idealist. He still has hope that maybe the CDC is up and running and they'll have a cure for this thing, even if that's just no long shot. Ultimately, hope wins out, even with some skepticism from Lori, who maybe thinks that Shane is correct. And this is also set up for how big of a wrench Lori throws in between Rick and Shane in season 2. The group goes to the CDC, drops off Jim on the way, and we meet Dr. Edwin Jenner. In season finale, TS19, we see the group enter the CDC. And I've done a more in-depth analysis of this episode in the past, so if you want to hear my full thoughts on that, I'll leave the link up for it in the corner right now. But I have a lot of mixed feelings on this episode. For one, as a season closer, I do think that it was the right direction to go in. The CDC seems like the ultimate best place to be, especially with how it's depicted in this episode. But as an episode that ends a season of a show that will go on for over a decade, I feel like this was too early. Finding out more about the virus, that there's no cure, that there really is no hope in the world, it all seems like territory that could have and should have been covered in later seasons. But as I say that, hindsight is 2020. They had no idea how big of a hit that the show would be, that it would last as long as it has. And I think that the show got progressively better over the next few seasons. So changing all of seasons 2 to 6 just so that way they can go and visit the CDC is not really something that I would want. But later than that, seasons 9 to 11 would have been interesting if it wasn't the movie that they already visited. On its own, this is still a great episode. What sticks out to me here is the structure of the episode. The first half of the episode is all about bringing this place up. You walk in, see how great this place potentially is. They all have hot showers, a nice dinner with lots of wine. Even blend with a hangover here is better than being out in the world. But at around the halfway mark, we learn more about the virus, test subject 19 being Jenner's wife, and the second half of the episode is all about bringing this place down. The electricity runs out, they're out of fuel, and ultimately leads to the CDC literally exploding and leaving our group on the road. It's a real shame, too, because we've got this doomsday counter and fuel being a finite resource, the CDC would absolutely be the best place to live in the zombie apocalypse. The season introduces us to our group, establishes the world and the rules that it follows, and sets up a lot of plot lines for the future of the show. If this series had not done well and this was the only season we got, it wouldn't even be close to a complete story. I mean, I still don't think we have a complete story even all these years later, but with the storylines introduced here, we wouldn't have gotten any semblance of conclusion. So now I think it's a good time to talk about a few of the things in this season that don't really hold up when looking at it in retrospect. One, I obviously have to talk about the zombies themselves. These walkers aren't even really walkers at all. They have the capability to run at you, to try and climb ladders, and even some of their memory. After the first episode and the first season in general, the walkers wouldn't do anything like this until the back half of season 11. And even that was just to try and call back to the zombies from the first season. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that. I know and understand that completely, but it's still just such a strange choice to have the zombies' behavior change so drastically when it was a big focus in these early episodes. I also find it strange that there's so many different names for the zombies, yet Morgan and the Atlanta survival camp just so happen to call them walkers. Maybe that was their official name when the news first broke out, but I find it oddly coincidental if it wasn't. Maybe that's a bit nitpicky, but there's also a lot of evidence that the show was setting things up that eventually never happened. There's a scene with Rick and Andrea in the store, and they're kind of doing a bit of flirting, possibly setting them up to eventually get together like in the comics, and this scene would have been pointed to as the first initial setup for it. This, of course, never came to fruition. But there's also an equal amount of setup that eventually did get payoff. All the Rick and Shane stuff, what Dr. Jenner whispered to Rick, Earl escaping Atlanta, all of this stuff. Reading wheels on this first season. This came on, a lot of the stuff that was highlighted did come back in the future. This season and this show in general is a character drama disguised as a healthy survival show. It's always been about the characters and how they navigate this world, not about getting food to survive or finding a good base to hold out in. All that stuff is secondary when it comes to The Walking Dead. It might be an
He's
episode
sad that the
about
birds be
getting
up there.
food, or it might be a plot point leading to some other storyline, but it's never been the main focus. I feel like turns some people off when it becomes the soap opera with zombies, as some people so lovingly refer to it. While it sets up a higher emphasis on the survival against zombies, it's still about the characters. Seeing Rick say things like, "We don't kill the living," or Carol apologize to Ed after he's the one who hit her, and Daryl being really antagonistic towards Rick Grimes, all goes to show where these characters start, and eventually where they end up, and who they end up becoming. That being said, the season did have an emphasis on two things that the show would later lose: survival and horror. The survival aspect comes from the
I would say do it in
conversation
the air fryer.
over safety, versus the world, and getting rid of the walkers, and the horror, of course, comes from the walkers themselves. While the show would never completely shed these aspects from the story, it wouldn't be nearly as relevant. But that's also not a bad thing. People eventually grew tired of the constant moving from place to place, and cheap jump scares from the walkers, so the show needed to grow to maintain its audience. So the show did grow in some areas, but
It was a bird.
and that leads us to season 2. This first season of The Walking Dead does just about everything right on the first viewing, but in retrospect, it does have flaws. Because of that, it's hard to give this season a rating. When I first saw it, it was a pure 10 out of 10, but as this video is in retrospective, I have to take the nostalgia out of it. So I'm going to go with the final score of a 9 out of 10. But that's a wrap on season 1. Again, I would be doing these each month, covering a new season and some other Walking Dead videos mixed in here and there with my other stuff. So if you enjoyed this video and want to hear my thoughts on this series, make sure you subscribe for more content like this. Like the video to download and get the series. If you do, then I'll see you all in the next one.
Hi. Thank you. Over there growing a beard, chocolate like Santa.
When The Walking Dead Season 2 hit our screens, some people were really satisfied seeing the personal character drama between our group and Herschel's group, seeing these people grow from who they were in Season 1 and how their time with the apocalypse changes their outlook and morality. Other people thought that the farm era of the show was hard to get through, that nothing important really happened until the end, and it's a stable season. And when the show first came out, I'll admit, I was one of the latter half of people. I was like 11 years old. I didn't care about the love triangle. I just wanted to see some zombie fights and action. The stuff at the bar was all just boring. Now that I'm over the age of 13, I have a much different perspective on the farm. Watching this season all at once, you'll see that it's actually paced incredibly well. The characters make decisions that move the story along bit by bit, but it ultimately all comes together or falls apart in the end. So I'm going to go over all the highlights, the lowlights, the stuff that I really liked, and the stuff that didn't really sit right with me. So let's try and look for Sophia, get a walker out of the well, and open the bar doors into Season 2 of The Walking Dead. One of the things about Season 2 that stuck out to me immediately was how big of a threat the walkers were. The herd passing through Episode 1 was genuinely nerve-wracking and such a tense and excellent scene. One walker was a tall task for Andrea to handle. Rick tells Sophia to stay put so he can take out 2 walkers, which ends up being a very bad idea. But at this point in the show, 2 walkers really did seem like a tall task. Now, there's also the sense that our group is still new to this game. They aren't leveled up enough to take these things on with confidence, and getting comfortable and skilled at killing walkers all becomes part of their individual character growth. But there's still the Frank Darabont factor with these walkers. They were still monsters at this point, not just obstacles in the way. The dialogue is all around far superior than the first season. They fully leaned into the character drama, which put some people off because it wasn't the parts of the first season that they liked, but when it comes to the character arcs of this season, it's very clear this was the direction the show was always going to go in. Binge watching this season makes it not at all boring, but I feel like more compelling because the pacing is so much better. From this season onward, The Walking Dead feels like a streaming show, meaning it feels like a show that all the episodes were released at once and it was meant to be binge watched. In a lot of ways, I feel like this season in particular was really ahead of its time. There's a few characters who get an increased role this season, one of which is Daryl. The way they utilize Daryl in this season is excellent, and it's easy to see why Daryl started becoming the standout character and fan favorite. It's super impressive writing because they gave Daryl the only storyline that really worked for him to have, and that's to find Sophia. In the comics, Sophia never goes missing, and there's no such thing as Daryl. So to have such a big deviation from the comics this early on only worked if the audience cared about what's going on, and having this side character you didn't have the greatest opinion of at first to go out of his way to search for this girl that really doesn't mean anything to him, means everything to the audience. Daryl doesn't have a ton of lines, doesn't do a lot of talking, but his actions are far louder than anything he could possibly say to anyone. Chupacabra is a particular standout episode for Daryl, where he finds Sophia's doll and hallucinates the vision of Merle as he's injured trying to get back to his farm. He still does some, I'll say, uniquely Daryl things, but ultimately becomes a very likable character. As the season goes on, in the second half, Daryl is used as another wedge between Rick and Shane, because Rick goes to look at Daryl as his right-hand man instead of Shane. Less is more with Daryl. It always has been, always will be, and they really understood that in this season. Carl also has an increased role, playing the annoying kid who wants to grow up too fast, and for that role, I think that he plays it well. His injury is really what sets the season in motion, the reason for them staying at the farm, Shane's derailment, and basically everything else that happens because our characters are forced to stay at the farm. It's a naive kid who doesn't have either one of his parents keep a close eye on him, so this eventually leads him to do what kids do, mess shit up. But honestly, watching this season, I had a lot of sympathy for Carl. He loses his only friend in the world and then wants to grow up to help out the others, but they don't really want him to, so he goes and does his own thing. I think this season sets up Carl to go on a nice character arc of his own in a few years. The seeds were all being planted here, even though they eventually took the character in a completely different direction. But I'll go over that when that time comes. Glenn gets an increased role because of this storyline with Maggie. There's winners and losers in the zombie apocalypse. People who end up better off than they were before, and people who can't handle the new world and eventually literally consumes them. And then there's Glenn, the nerdy pizza delivery boy who ends up getting Maggie. Now, a lot has been said about the Glenn and Maggie relationship. Lucky he is, but those conversations died down over the years because everybody realized that Steve is a very handsome guy, and Glenn goes on to get this season into a controlling personality. But I need to bring it back up because back in season 2, this was not Glenn, and this was certainly Glenn was each and every one of the lovely girls watching the show. Sure, we can all see ourselves as, and for him to get a girl like Maggie, he was a goddamn hero. So for that, I salute him. But there's only one reason why this relationship works, and it is believable as it is, and that's the chemistry between Steve Yeun and Lauren Cohen. These two end up becoming such an unlikely yet wonderful pairing, and it's one of the only threads of happiness in this season, and really for seasons to come. On season 2, I obviously have to mention Herschel, played by the late Scott Wilson. Herschel is easily the best character in
Right there next to your candy.
He starts the season off doing everything he can to help our group, being a man of God and still praying for the world. But as the season goes on, his secrets are uncovered, and we learn that Herschel isn't all that aware of how bad the world is.
What did you do with my hair?
That kind of thinking just ends up getting you killed. By the end of the season, Herschel is a changed man.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna just sit there one day. That's down. Nope. Shorty said, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you drinking? Let me have some. What are you doing?
To see our characters before we really met them on screen and how they eventually got where they are. first one is Shane telling Lori what
And
happened.
like I said, hold on.
She's waiting to pick up Carl from school. Lori's talking to one of her friends.
Right.
Barrett,
So he said, "You've been in the all day?"
things aren't going too smooth. It's really the inverse of the opening scene in the pilot of Rick talking to Shane about his marriage with Laura. But this time it sounds like seeing two different sides of the argument. What Rick was saying about how Lori said something so
I think while I'm over there, I might just wash my work clothes.
was exactly what Lori said to her friends and how she was wrong for saying it. Then Shane shows up and tells her about Rick and how he's been shot. She realizes that the last conversation that she had with her husband was kind of a great one, and now she has to tell Carl. We also get to see the first bombing of Atlanta and really how they saw each other on the highway in the first place. But mostly what these scenes are setting up is
It's just like out my face
Rick's
for like half a
At the start
second.
of the season, there is an internal struggle between Lori, but he also genuinely does care about Rick.
Yo, Nova is a character, bro.
Two different people, which is true for the most part, but it's not like his character just changes over
Nova
time.
is something else.
It's not like there's not a reason for his change. When he kills Otis to get the supplies back to Carl, his whole mindset changes. I don't think Shane was mentally prepared for the toll this would actually take. He talks to Andrea about this, saying that sometimes you don't know it's the choices you make. It's one of the ones just I think a lot of Shane's characteristics and choices this season stem from how uncomfortable he is about how things went down with Otis. It affects all aspects of his life. It further drives him against Rex, furthers his feelings for Lori, and causes the whole outburst at the bomb. He knew this group needed a villain. He was okay with being that villain because he himself felt like the villain. Maybe it ended up giving Shane too much credit that he was just insane from the start, and the whole Otis situation popped the lid off of that. But if you go back and watch those episodes right after Otis' death, Shane is a changed person. He's much darker and lonelier person than he was before. And years later, he becomes villain Shane because he just doesn't know how to process the same. With all that being said, we get to the episode pretty much dead
The
already.
liquid IV
Shane
shades.
is 100% correct about everything. The way he goes about it, so much, whether he had this outburst and forced us to go walkers,
So I'm
she
actually
would have
like
been dead everywhere. Because Rick was
supposed to be better than
changing the
me.
damn thing. Rick, while he had differing opinions that Herschel and Walkers still being evil, he was going to go along with it.
You know me, I don't really like
Until eventually, this would be the death.
flavored shit.
It takes one mistake, one mishap, and the bar full of walkers would escape dead, killed everybody if they weren't ready for it. And Rick absolutely 100% let this happen. Rick in this season is far too busy trying to please both sides. He wants to be the good guy, the glue that holds everybody together, but Shane realizes that that's not going to work. He tells Lori that Rick ain't built this world. He's not wrong. This version of Rick Grimes would have definitely gotten hold of killed. But when Shane opens the barn and demonstrates how workers aren't people anymore, it changes the dynamic of the group entirely. The episode Nebraska showcases this perfectly. The group gets split on what Shane did. Some people blame Andrea and T-Dog and fire him and thank him for what he did because it was for the better, while others are appalled and think that was the worst thing he should do. Regardless of whether Shane was or wasn't right, he starts causing rifts in the group. And once that starts, it takes somebody who's willing to make the hard choices to bring everybody back together. Enter Rick, who's going to kill the living Grimes. Making those hard decisions at the bar later that day. The bar scene is absolutely fantastic, mostly because of how subtle everything is. When you run into these guys, it's not painted on their foreheads that they're bad guys, like most of the people they run into later are. It's these things that they say about how they
So we're gonna get clean. But she got ink stains. I'm concerned about it.
gives Rick the indication that something's on. He makes a decision that if he had made it literally 1 second later, he'd be dead. This is the moment that Rick stops trying to be the good guy. This is the moment that he stops trying to be a Rick's friend because after this, he has no problem sticking up to Shane, making those decisions that are for the best and keeping everybody else alive. In a lot of ways, Rick's killing and Shane's getting bonus mirror each other. They both change our characters.
There's another one.
Really, Rick was built for this world,
I don't
not Shane. Also, side note, when they get attacked at the bar,
know.
Marshall ends up killing one of the dudes at the party. imagine surviving in an apocalypse for a good amount of time, just to end up
I don't know
getting
what you-
taken out by an 80-year-old. Don't know why, but that made me laugh. Now I feel like it's time to talk about the elephant.
This is
A lot
stupid.
has been said about Story over the years, and just about all of it is fully accepted.
It's
A lot
wrong.
of the stuff Story comes from a place of hatred, thinking that the character wasn't all that great, and with that I disagree. Two things can be true at the same time. Story can be a terrible mother, terrible in his house, manipulative and frustrating to watch, while also still being a great character. Watching this again, I think that Lori is trying her best. Best to keep everybody happy and be helpful to those around her. She just goes about it in the worst possible way. In a lot of ways, she reminds me of Catherine Stark, who does the exact same thing, trying to make the best decisions, but actually ends up making the worst decisions. Lori is a character that actually isn't built for this world. She can't make those tough decisions when she's already in a situation that she got herself into. I truly don't blame Lori for getting with Shane when she thought Rick was dead. I don't. Was it too early in the apocalypse to totally forget your husband? Yes, it was. But we also don't have a good reference to judge her on because the apocalypse is the apocalypse. You think you're gonna die like every second of every day, and Shane was there for them. He took care of them. So it's probably just meant to be easier to divert your feelings of grief from your dead husband by clinging on to somebody else, especially somebody that not only reminds you of your husband, but is going out of his way to keep you safe. That all makes sense, and I don't blame Lori for that at all. But what I do blame Lori for is trying to please everybody in the second season. Her and Rick are both guilty of this.
That's what I'm
Shane
buying. I
says
have my
he wants to leave because he can't have Lori and there's no place for him anymore. But she tells him to stay, giving Shane some sort of hope that there might be a future there. Rick kills those guys in Nebraska because they pose a threat, and Lori tells Rick that Shane poses a similar threat. So what's he gonna do to protect his family? Lori thanks Shane for saving her and Carl and says that what they had together wasn't one-sided. Rick killed Shane.
Yo, no
Lori
problem.
regrets that. Lori basically
I want to see my god sister, not you.
look at Rick after. In one of my earlier videos, I forget which one, I said that Lori gets a bad rap and doesn't play Rick and Shane against each other. And after watching this season and its
You want to be on
entirety
the
again,
phone?
that's exactly what she does. But I also don't think it's intentional. I think similarly to Shane, Lori doesn't know how to deal with the consequences of her actions. I think that she was hoping that everything would kind of just go away and all the drama would be dealt with and she kept on playing nice to everybody involved. But that's not how the world works, especially this one. And it's not an exciting road rage between Rick and Shane. She can't keep her eyes on
It's her little face. Right.
getting mad at Rick for killing Shane is hugely
She wanna be on
impressionable.
top of
But
it.
the scene also makes it seem like maybe she's mad at him because Carl is the one who actually had to put him down. When
There
Shane
you
was
go,
supposed to
I
watch her.
go.
She really just never has any leverage in her arguments, and that's across the whole season. I don't really think Lori was a very necessary character, but it felt like the writers kept on flip-flopping on what they wanted
Samantha.
her to be, so she ended up being this hypocritical and aggravating character. The second half of the season and the whole Rachel situation is written and executed to perfection. It reminds me of the same storyline where Rachel
Right now.
decide what to do with the guy who survives and sends him to the timeline of the situation. It's a storyline that only works in the beginning of the apocalypse because the characters are struggling to preserve the old world and their old purpose.
Wish my
Also,
phone would
realize
bust
that
out.
tough decisions need to be made in order to survive in this new world. 18 Miles Out is the culmination of events set up from the very first episode. Things finally come to a head between Rick and Shane. They fight over what to do with Randall after he says that he knows who Maggie is. Shane thinks that they should just kill him, but Rick says they need to go with a new plan. So they start fighting, but the real reason why they're fighting is a bit more obvious.
I bet you I'm telling you when I'm gonna come back.
New 2011 Hyundai Tucson. While this is a good episode, it's also incredibly strangely paced with two very different conflicting storylines. But Rick eventually gets his way, and Rick still better for the bar. The conversation about keeping Randall alive really encapsulates the whole season. The debate about morality in this world and how it's changed in the opinion of the majority, how people are stuck living in
I
the
really want to hold it
that
though.
last year in this season. These are all themes that this season, because we all believe in this moment, this one conversation about a man's life, they're so willing to take one person against it, shows how different the group is now, that they're going down. It's also one of the most beautifully acted scenes by Jeffrey DeMunn, and heartbreaking because of what happens a few minutes later. Dale dies.
Or I think rather when I'm going down to just go.
Change that comes at the proper moment, and obviously signifies a great change in Rick. I remember there being talks of a deleted scene or something along those lines, of like how Shane's gun wasn't actually loaded and he wanted Rick to kill him, which would have been cool. But I ultimately don't think that was Shane's true intentions. He definitely was there to kill Rick. Having it come back alive and Carl being the one to finally end it was also a great scene. One that, again, had Lori lose sight of her son despite all of them being confined to the house. The Walker herd attacking the farm shows all of us how brutal the world truly is. How they were really just biding their time staying at the farm in this wide open area with no true fortification. And then we see just how far Rick progressed this season when he says that they are not a democracy anymore. They are in a dictatorship. He's done playing both sides and making everybody happy. It's his way or the highway, and they can either get on board or leave. Isn't that times great? And other times, not so much. But we'll get to see more of that in season 3. We give season 2 of The Walking Dead a solid 7 out of 10. And those are my thoughts on season 2. What do you think? Is this season a slow burn, or is it just boring? Let me hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and tune in next month to see my video on season 3. Special shout out to all my channel members, and for you guys, be on the lookout for my season 3 videos.
The big thing I should go right now is I should go and come down and go to the time. It makes no sense for me to go down and come up.
You do, and I'll see you in the next one.
What you gotta get?
Hair dye, nose, nails.
For the first 2 seasons of The Walking Dead, it was
Oh,
a show
yeah,
that
if you want to get that now, it's still working. What time you gotta leave?
4:30. That's why I'm like, it's already 2 to go down to come up to go down again. I might as well just go get it when I'm leaving.
maybe that's not your experience, but when season 3 came out, I was
Yeah,
so
dude, yeah.
excited. All of my friends and I were kind of like, oh, we're watching the show too. It was something everybody was watching, and since I was the president of Nerds, and everybody that I knew, it gave me the opportunity to talk to the big, scary, older kids on the bus.
Or something
Any
new for
questions
show.
they had about the show, I knew the answers to. The show was how huge to it.
Actually, yeah, let me know if I do my hair at Ashley's, I'll go to the shower there.
And it was weirdly a show that all ages seemed to enjoy. The Walking Dead was just starting to enter its prime. You really wouldn't hit that for another few years, but I think back to season 3 as the season that the show really started to become popular. So let's take the present, watch some heads float in jars, and katana our way through The Walking Dead season 3. There's a lot to love about season 3, but there's also a lot of questionable things about season 3. I always thought back on this season really fondly. Watching it again, I still have a lot of really good things to say about it, but it's also not exactly the season I remember for a variety of reasons. So I'll be going over different plot points, character arcs, all sorts of things, but let's start off with the first episode and the very first scene. The opening sequence shows us just how much time has passed since we last saw the group. There's obviously the look of them. Lori is far more pregnant than she was before. Everybody's really dirty and grimy, and Herschel looks far different. They even go to show him last because we're supposed to be like, whoa, Herschel really let himself go. But what I love about this scene is that there's no dialogue. They're clearing this house as a unit. They have this trust in each other that wasn't there before, and they have a clear formula for doing these things. The group is also far more competent now. Even Carl is clearing rooms and making shots that Rick couldn't do in the first season. Gone are the days where Rick runs away from 2 walkers. Really, anybody in this group can take down anything that comes their way. They find a prison and come up with a plan to clear the walkers instead of just saying, well, it's overrun, better look elsewhere. And they also take the prison in just a few minutes. If this was a later season, they'd find the prison, take an episode to discuss if they want to take it or not. If they can take it, something would happen to prevent them from doing it, and that after 5 or 6 episodes, there'd be a cliffhanger on whether or not they actually did take it. But no, this was season 3, and everything in this 16-episode season is paced beautifully. Rick is immediately a more hardened man. He really can't stand Lori. He doesn't take shit from the prisoners, and killing Tomas because he stands in opposition against him really puts that in perspective. This really isn't the same Rick as the first 2 seasons. This is also the season that Rick really starts to become a great character and leader, at least in some episodes. I also think this is when Andrew Lincoln really steps into the role and understands the character. Not that he didn't before, because he always did, but it seems really like he's more comfortable and able to play out smaller scenes and put his own spin on the character. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but I feel like the first 2 seasons he was more confined between 2 lines, and he feels comfortable playing outside those lines. If that makes any sense. Same goes with Carol, who seems to have adapted since we last saw her, learning some of her tricks about healing and also seeing life the way it is now. She's more confident
Yeah,
in herself.
I think mine are in there somewhere. I got them somewhere over here.
Telling Andrea to sleep with the governor so that way she can kill him, and even sticking up to Earl and confronting him about what side he's really on. This is a far cry from the Carol we knew at the beginning of the series, and even at the beginning of the season, the writers were contemplating killing her off. One of the primary characters introduced in this season is, of course, Michonne. Across the first half of the season, Michonne has very few lines. In episode 6, she's one of the featured storylines, but doesn't say a single word. We also identify with her and support her character because she's the only one who thinks something is wrong with the governor and Woodbury. So the show is really making us support Michonne and go against Andrea. It's easy for an audience to watch a show with all the information and root for Michonne to unravel everything. It's kind of like character 101, but it's also much easier to look at a character making the wrong decisions and root against them, which this season does at every turn they can with Andrea. I have a lot of thoughts on Andrea. I'll get to more of them later, but as it stands, I think Andrea gets a really bad rap. Not because the decisions that she makes are polarizing. She makes every single bad decision possible in this season, but because I think the writers did her so dirty. She was a sacrifice in this show for more drama, but they knew the audience wouldn't side with her or even root for her or even respect her, and I honestly feel really bad for Lori Holden, but more on that in a bit. Lori's death episode is great. I have an episode analysis on it, I'll link to it right now, but this episode is literally just a bad day that keeps getting worse and worse, and it obviously changes the trajectory of the show. Daryl steps up when Rick is going insane from Lori's death. He immediately recognizes that Rick is losing it, goes out on a run to get baby formula, which I feel like they should have had a long time ago, but whatever, and even steps outside his own comfort zone to become a leader for the group. It's stuff like this that made Daryl become the character that he eventually became, and a great replacement as protagonist of the show. One thing I need to bring up in regards not only to this season, but the entire show, is the makeup and practical effects. This season, they got a noticeably bigger budget, and still a lot of that went to the effects. While there's tons of zombie media out there, none of them look nearly as good as The Walking Dead zombies. That goes from season 1 to the end of the show to all the spin-offs. Everything about the makeup, the practical effects in this show in its entirety is an A+. Insane Rick is probably my least favorite Rick in the show. He's just a selfish asshole. Might be a comparison that only a few of you guys understand, but it kind of reminds me of the Order of the Phoenix book, because Harry is an insufferable asshole for like half of that 800-page book, and it's this character that you really like and connect with, but you can't really connect with at the moment. And that's how I feel about Rick in the beginning of the season. Rewatching the show in its entirety has been such a treat because it reminds me of episodes like the mid-season finale, an episode I've probably only seen 1 or 2 times, and it's absolutely excellent. I'm actually surprised I don't have an episode analysis on it yet, but it's going to be one that I do here very shortly. There's so many different layers to the storylines, and the human encounters used to carry so much weight behind what's going on. This was built up from the 3rd episode of the show when the governor was introduced, and the stakes feel so high because of its proper build-up. There's a lot of highlights in this episode, but one of them is the suspense built up between Daryl and Earl fighting on opposite opposite sides. Daryl has the most interesting story this season that he ever gets the whole show. When Daryl leaves with Merle, there's a noticeable emptiness in the prison. The struggle between wanting to help your brother or your family is very interesting, and it takes a toll on every single person at the prison. The second half of season 3 is nowhere near as good as the first half. A lot of it just feels underwhelming because it's supposed to be Rick versus the governor and all the drama surrounding that, but it just doesn't live up to the expectations set up for the first half. There's some great moments and resolutions like Glenn and Maggie getting engaged and Merle's redemption, and even the episode where Rick and the governor meet and the conversations that play out between them and everyone outside is really excellent writing, but a lot of that tension and suspense is lost along the process. I think the best episode in the second half of the season is Clear, which is strange because this is, on all accounts, a bottle episode. But seeing Morgan again after so long and all the dialogue between him and Rick is so interesting. We also got to see Carl bond with Michonne, which is huge for their friendship. It's also kind of like the first family outing. So for a bottle episode, it ends up being pretty important in the context of the future of the show. Rick's speech in the penultimate episode about how this has to be a democracy shows how different he is from the governor and proves thematically how important the threat he posed actually was. It's the perfect time in the show to introduce a human villain because the world had grown, these characters had grown, and it further reinstates that this show is a drama about characters surviving in the apocalypse, not just a zombie survival show. Rick's internal struggle about trading Michonne over to the governor is another really great bit of writing. Michonne has done nothing but help the group since she arrived, but she also doesn't really need much anything emotionally to anybody, at least not as much as the other people in the prison. On paper, it makes a lot of sense for Rick to trade her, but he can't do that. That's his humanity right there. And it's another thing that separates him from the governor. So Merle takes it upon himself to do it, but even he has a shred of humanity left, pays for it with his life in what is Daryl's most emotional scene in the entire show. The finale itself is very underwhelming, but also indicative of how the second half of the season went overall. I'd say it's probably my least favorite finale across all seasons. Andrea's whole storyline is just badly executed, and it truly feels like they wrote it absolutely against it. She wants to play both sides and expects everybody in prison to welcome her back with open arms. And after everything she learned of the governor, she still doesn't try to do anything up until it's too late. I felt nothing at her death, and sure, Lori Holden had a contract up to season 7. The writers did her so dirty this season that winning the audience's favor back would be too tall a mountain to climb. Andrea takes her sweet-ass time getting the flyers off the ground, having such a difficult time doing it, too, and then just kind of sits around like Milt is dying and has absolutely no agency whatsoever. It's infuriating writing, and it's when the audience wants to see your character die. For them doesn't even make narrative sense. She doesn't contribute anything to the war. Have them perform the troops? Absolutely nothing. I think the writer saw an opportunity to kill off a fan least favorite and went for it. Lori Holden has even spoken out about writing for her character. She said that it's not the direction that she was told that they were going in, and it's not the direction that she wanted to go in. So overall, I just feel very bad for her. There is an interesting moment in the finale. Michonne asks Rick about why he saved her, if it was just for the baby formula, and he says, "Nah, it must have been something else." Is that some kind of romantic spark between them? I don't know. I'm probably just going crazy. Them together would be a long shot. It probably wouldn't happen for like at least another 3 seasons. So those are my thoughts on season 3. This is actually a bit shorter than I expected, but I've said everything I need to say, I think. I still think this is a really good season, but it's far from the series' best. The first half of the season is like a straight A+. The second half, I'd say, is like a B- or C+. So to round all that out, and put the equation, carry the 2, I'd say it's like a 5 out of 10. Now we get to see what life is like at the prison with the governor gone. Sorta. But what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video and want to see more like this, I'm going to be doing a video on each season every month of this year, so subscribe to see more, like the video, and I'll see you all in the next one.
There's no guns, no ammo. What's an armed robbery for 9 hours?
think that's called a robbery, Jimmy. How can I help you today, sister?
Maybe you're gonna go help? 지금 검색만 해보네. 잘해줄 거니까. It's not the same as they're coming home.
I mentioned a bit in my last video that season 3 of The Walking Dead was when the show completely took the world by storm. If that's the case, then season 4 is when the show completely and totally took me over personally. Starting from this season, I've watched every single episode of the show twice before the next one came out. I started looking for hints and clues as to what was coming in the future, and to this day, season 4 is one of my absolute favorite seasons of the show. That's not to say it's without its faults, because it's got a great many, but this is still what I consider to be the start of the golden era of the show. We got the sickness at the prison, which I think is an underrated storyline, the return of the governor, which is... then we have one of the highest rated episodes of the series, maybe the best one, and then the back half, which is probably my favorite stretch of the entire show. So in this video, I'm going to be covering all aspects of Season 4, the stuff that I liked, didn't like, stuff that I loved, and didn't love, and maybe point out a few things that you didn't realize along the way. Also, real quick, before I get into the video, this video is sponsored by... Not really, but if you enjoy my videos, want to see some more behind-the-scenes stuff, and hear about upcoming videos, check out the Discord server. We recently made a lot of changes to it, so if you want to talk to me and other people about the videos and all things nerdy in general, go check it out. Link will be in the description, and you can also follow me on Instagram if you want to hear about what I'm up to in general. If you don't want to do all those things, that's fine. Maybe just consider subscribing. Only about 15% of you watching are subscribed. So, sorry to be that kind of YouTuber, but it really goes a long way. Alright, enough of that. Even though the government has its tank,
Check over here, babe.
so let's talk The
One of
Walking
those.
Dead Season 4.
Check over here.
No. I meant like, you know how we have those other two where you hold the L?
Nah. Well, your 3-tube shit is there.
Just an underwhelming section half in general, so I think that's the time jump.
Nah, I don't think so. I don't think so. I thought we had one there.
We don't really care to see. The first episode
Whatever,
is
yeah.
titled 30 Days Without an Accident, and the show's story is practically based on accidents and incidents, so I feel this time jump is necessary for a number of reasons.
Check the
Last time we saw them, how much the prison has changed and grown, and just from an audience perspective, it feels like time has gone on in this world as it's gone on in our own lives. One thing I'm noticing a lot on this rewatch that for some reason I didn't realize the first time I watched it, yes, even with watching every episode twice a week, is how much setup there is for Rick and Michonne. I'm not sure why, but I remember by the time they do get together, I guess, I never saw it coming. But even all the way back in season 4, there's plenty of setup. I also love how Michonne tells him that he needs to shave because he's losing the war as a joke. But in the trailer, that line was super serious. The first episode really is a happy beginning. Life seems pretty great, so first they drop us into the story. When shit starts to go bad, Herschel gives Rick a speech about being too far gone, that he came back and we all get to come back. All stuff I've heard a number of times before, but in a different episode. I just never realized that these exact lines were said Rick back in the first episode. With this small time jump, we get several
I don't remember where I got it from. I just know someone gave it to me, and I was like, oh shit, thanks.
But before I get into him, let's go over everybody else. Beth is incredibly cynical. Her new boyfriend dies, and she quite literally doesn't even shed a tear. She's so used to people dying and having to grieve, she doesn't allow herself to open up to anybody anymore. Michonne, on the other hand, is incredibly open with these people now, specifically Carl and Rick for some reason. She's honestly a very different character from the person she was in season 3, not in a bad or jarring way, but she's just more comfortable now and more fun, and the comedy side of her comes out. Carl is more mature now. Sure, he's still a naive kid, but he almost has a more realistic outlook than even Rick does across the first few episodes. He's ready to pull his end of the weight in this group, and he's actually capable enough, physically and mentally, to do that now. Carol has adapted to the world. After almost dying several times now, she's prepared to make the hard choices realizes that nobody else wants to. Daryl has accepted a leadership role. Reluctantly, but still accepted it. He realizes that people around the prison look up to him and feel safe with him on their side. Same goes for Glenn and Maggie. They're pillars of this community now and make sure to let everybody know that they're there for them, but also make sure that their relationship is stable because, frankly, their relationship is another beacon of hope for everybody around. And then there's Farmer Rick. Farmer Rick makes sense given Carl's dark turn at the end of the last season, but I feel like he almost takes it too far, not even being able to kill walkers until a few episodes into the season. Rick has his own new hero's journey in this season. He's Farmer Rick at first, but then realizes that this place is kind of falling apart without him in a leadership role, so he takes it back on. This does make his storyline a little boring in these opening episodes. Yes, it is necessary for him to kind of come out of his shell again and realize he's still needed by this group of people, but that doesn't stop me from thinking that he's still a little boring in these first couple episodes. But in this lawless world, when a crime is committed, especially amongst a strong community, the law is needed. So Rick dons the detective hat and magnifying glass to try and figure out who killed Karen and David. Of course, he eventually finds out who killed them, and goes on to make a decision that only a strong leader can make. The whole sickness plotline feels ahead of its time in a way, and I actually think it's a pretty underrated storyline. It's one of the more grounded aspects of living in the apocalypse and still makes for great drama and character development. I think a lot of the disappointment from the story comes from the misdirection from the trailer. I made a whole video about Walking Dead trailers and their use of misdirection if you want to check that out, but this whole plot line wasn't even hinted at in the trailer. In fact, it was the exact opposite of hinted at. It was hidden. For people that don't like the story, that just binged it and never watched the trailer, well, I don't know, maybe it's just a bad storyline, but I liked it. At the end of the day, it is just a reason to kill off all the red shirt characters in preparation for the second half of the season. But it adds some more layers to this world and creates a good amount of tension between the characters. It was also the perfect storyline to send off Herschel to. Herschel's speech about risking your life is one of the best speeches in the show. It's up there with the best Rick ones, Shane's Barnes speech, and it really speaks to who Herschel is. Yes, he's old, he's very susceptible to getting this disease, but he has the knowledge needed to help out, and he'd rather risk himself going into the sick cell block than his daughters or anybody else he cares about. Herschel doesn't care if this leads to the end for him.
I think my
In fact,
name is
by the end of it,
Aris.
I
I'm
honestly
an
wish
artist.
it was the end for him. He's not able to help or save everybody that he wanted to. He realizes that in this world, his best efforts aren't able to save everyone. And everybody around him that he cares about in this world has somebody else that they care about. Herschel is, in a lot of ways, very much alone. Anyways, somebody had better told Judith about Beth, because that girl literally exclusively has scenes only if she's holding the baby. It was like that in season 3 as well, so Daryl, you better be reading some bedtime stories about the girl that carried her for the first, I don't know, should be like years, but at least the first several months of her life. The first half of the season introduces us to the kids of the prison, specifically Lizzie and Mika. All of the Carol and Lizzie stuff at the beginning of the season really breaks my heart. Carol cares about this young girl and wants to teach her how to survive, but I think what she's teaching her ultimately harms her in the end. I think this is where the writing for Carol differentiates from characters like Lori and Andrea. They had a clear goal in mind with Carol, and although what she's doing is incredibly flawed and ultimately works against her, we can see her reasoning for doing all of this. With Lori and Andrea, we didn't really understand their thoughts because they, quite frankly, didn't make a ton of sense. But Carol wants these kids to be able to take care of themselves, and nobody else is willing to teach them, so she takes that on for herself. While she has the right intentions, it doesn't necessarily make her choices correct in the end. When Daryl, Bob, Michonne, and Tyrese go out on a run, Bob literally almost pulls a gun on Daryl for a bottle of alcohol, and this leads to one of my absolute favorite Daryl moments because Norman plays this scene so well. He's angry and he has every right to be, and he's literally holding himself back from strangling this man. And that's what I mean by Daryl has stepped up to become a leader. I think the Daryl of the first 3 seasons would have killed Bob right here, no hesitation. They're also in a car and they get some sort of signal on the radio. I played place that says it's a sanctuary for all, but it kind of cuts in and out. I wonder if that'll ever come back into play. I mentioned it already, but Internment is a great episode and a great send-off to Herschel. Even though there's an additional 2 episodes after this, they're both centered on the governor, and we don't even see our group, so Internment is really Herschel's send-off episode. Walking Dead always does this, highlights a character in an episode that they're either getting killed off in, or the episode right before they're getting killed off in, but this was pretty hidden among some other really obvious character deaths that would come in the later seasons, so it made Herschel's actual death 2 episodes later still very shocking. The governor-centric episodes are great in their own right. I really don't think it needed to be 2 episodes. I think it starts to drag a bit in the second episode. It's really satisfying to see the governor lose himself and everything around him, and scary to see just how easily he can build it back up again and what he's willing to do in order to get power. One thing these episodes do highlight is how great of an actor David Morrissey is. He was great in season 3, I don't think I mentioned that before, but seeing him lead 2 episodes on his own really gives him the proper time to shine. In the first episode, we think that maybe the governor has turned over a new leaf, and maybe we're going to see some sort of redemption arc. Martinez gives him the benefit of the doubt, and we start to truly believe that the governor is a changed man. But he's not. He's a deranged sociopath, and some things don't ever change. Martinez not outing the governor immediately is honestly up there with some of the stupidest decisions in the entire show. Maybe I understand the benefit of the doubt, maybe, but when he doesn't fit in with anybody around camp and starts looking angry all the time, some red flags have got to be thrown out there, like, come on now, Martinez. In the end, Martinez's trust is betrayed, and it leads to his own death. But if Martinez had been smart and outed the governor right away, we wouldn't have gotten Too Far Gone. Too Far Gone is obviously one of the greatest episodes in the entire show. It really makes up for the lackluster season 3 finale, because up until this point, we really hadn't seen an episode like this in The Walking Dead. Having the governor launch a full-on attack that ultimately ends the prison era was not something I expected when this episode first aired. In some ways, you really do think that Rick is going to convince them to live together, and in some alternate universe out there, that is the plotline that happened, and honestly, that's a really great what-if scenario. But the governor's thirst for revenge comes above the wants of his new people. He ultimately goes to this prison to destroy it, along with everybody who took the precious life he had away from him. He doesn't care about these people, but he certainly acts like he does, and that's the important part. He knew he was losing the moral battle, even with his own people. They were starting to side with Rick, so he had to do something drastic to change people's opinions on the matter. He was reminded of the bloody stump out in the woods that said liar, and then makes a decision that proves he was actually too far gone. Herschel's death is surprising, shocking, gut-wrenching, and the show had never had a death like it. Maybe Dale before this, but deaths like Andrea and Lori or even T-Dog never hit as hard as Herschel's death did. It worked super well here, but also led to some not-so-great shocking deaths down the line. The multiple different point of views at the prison battle are all really great, either ending storylines or setting up new ones. Mostly setting up new ones for our characters, but this truly was the perfect, tragic end to the prison era and proved, once again, that this is the zombie apocalypse. It's not your typical family drama. The episode after Too Far Gone, titled After, really felt like a glimpse into the future of the show for a lot of reasons. For one, it only features Rick, Carl, and Michonne, another hint towards this future family. Carl is also very heavily featured over an injured and seemingly dying Rick, kinda hinting at what the show would be like once Rick dies and Carl takes over as the lead. Because surely that's what's gonna happen, right? But this is also an episode where it felt like the writers had a solid direction for Carl. They knew what they were doing with him here and how to write him. It's by far the best episode for Carl in the entire
Another
series.
game, another
Also,
win.
really proud of that.
After work tomorrow, win. Let's keep it going.
Stories were told in a really cool way that's unique to all other backstories that we see in the show. One thing I have to mention is the music, specifically the change in music. Starting this season, the music changed drastically.
They don't even know what's coming for them.
Seasons, it became less Western and more synth and ominous piano, and I really like it. While Western sounding music worked for the first couple of seasons, it does start to feel a little out of place success in this season, so I'm glad that they changed it. Some people might not feel the same way, but seasons 4 to 6 had the best music in the show, and they were also the best seasons of the show. One thing I thought of specifically during these second half episodes was why they didn't have a plan, or at least a meeting place to go to if they all got separated. Prison fell, there's really no